Hello, everybody, and welcome. Stoic Herbalist here, and today we are going to go for another interview. And we are going to have another interview with Gary Leigh because, first of all, it was so interesting previous time, and many of you have actually also asked for it. So, Gary Leigh is a certified life coach born in Melbourne, Australia. He is an empath who has helped pioneer the information on what an empath is and how to cope as one. And of course, like that, he has also helped many other empaths. He has made vital contributions and discoveries to the field of Bach Flower Remedies. He has experienced and overcome psychic attacks. He has also studied and researched things like spiritual healing, Taoism, of course, Bach Flower Remedies, psychic phenomena, protection. He has run many support sites and blogs since the early 2000s. And this focus is on healing people and giving them their power back. He is also the author of Bach Flower Remedies, The Hidden Layers, the Empath Guidebook, and Bach Flower Remedies for Empaths, and I Am the Phoenix, his autobiography, where Gary has recounted an abundance of psychic and metaphysical events from his life. So I'm very excited to present you again, Gary Leigh. Hello and welcome.
Hi, Michelle. Good to be back. Good to be
Hello.
here.
I'm very glad to have you back, and I'm sure I won't be the only one.
Hmm.
So, last time we talked about empaths and Bach Flower Remedies. And I will link that interview below for those who want to watch that. And I really recommend it. It's very interesting. And today we are going to get into a different theme. I feel like some remedies don't really get the spotlight or the really the attention that they need. And I also feel that every practitioner has their own kind of sweetheart in all these remedies. And so today I really want to ask, what is that gem for you? What is that remedy that you think that deserves the spotlight?
It just happens to be something which is very unique to the remedies. And the reason why it's unique is because it's actually not a plant and it's not a tree. It's rock water. It's literally water which is in a spring which is collected.
Mhm.
And it's a very underrated remedy. In fact, it's so underrated that I ignored it for almost 3 decades before I finally understood its true healing power.
It's true, it's a very it's a specific weird thing and people often don't understand it because they're like, okay, but they're all made with rock water in a way. So how does all of that work? What is going on? It has something mysterious, but at the same time it isn't really because it is just rock water. It doesn't really, it's kind of overlooked a little bit, doesn't really have that almost like a, oh, the other ones are made from flowers and it's a little bit more magical. But yeah, it's quite uncommon to take that as a healing remedy.
Absolutely. And I have a suspicion that you might have different rock pools in the world, but I think the one in the UK
Mm-hmm.
has specific rocks and energy to land, which makes it what it is. So I've always wondered if different effects could be derived from different locations.
Mm-hmm.
But that's what makes it such a fascinating remedy to me, too.
Yeah, I wonder that too because I have sometimes seen that other companies are selling water, just pure spring water from very specific wells and things like that. And so even for me, it's still something very mysterious. But that's what we like about the Bach flowers, of course. So,
Yeah.
what is rock water for those who maybe have never heard about Bach flower remedies, or for those who've maybe never heard about rock water? What is rock water commonly known for?
That's an excellent question. Traditionally, it's for people who are very rigid, they deny themselves the joys of life, and they have these high expectations which they live up to. They're strict in their ethics and their lifestyle, and they tend to be harsh with themselves. That's the traditional description of what rock water is.
Hmm. And why rock water? Why do you feel that this remedy is so essential? Why do you think this is the remedy that maybe some people miss or never really use or don't really look as deep into as they should have or could have?
Well, here's the thing about rock water. That description I gave is actually a symptom of the rock water state, not a cause. And because of that, people will look at the actual description and think, well, that's not me.
Mhm.
How does that relate to me? And they'll ignore it, like I did for about 3 decades. And sometimes I use it when somebody was being hard on themselves or acting rigid, but it was more a niche type situation.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
And then one day I was feeling an undercurrent of anxiety that my usual remedies didn't touch. Normally, agrimony, which is for repressed
Mm-hmm.
emotions, which can cause spiking anxiety. Um, I would take that and that would fix the problem. Or pine, I was carrying guilt for something, like how somebody reacted towards me.
Mm-hmm.
Or more rarely, aspen, which is for a sense of impending doom. But none of them touched this anxiety. And so I went through my emotions and I realized what was happening, that I had this fear that I was not good enough to do a certain job.
Mm-hmm.
I was wondering if maybe I was freaking out and panicking because I didn't think I was able to live up to the standards I had sort of set for myself.
Mm-hmm.
And I realized, I'm trying to live up to a certain standard. So I made a connection with rock water.
Mm-hmm.
And as I said, that's for impossibly high standards that I was holding myself to. So I took it. And as I took it, I realized the reason I was holding myself up to those standards was due to a fear of failure. And that's when it dawned on me that the standards that we were trying to live up to were actually a symptom rather than a cause.
Mm-hmm.
And Rockwater's main power was to help one overcome the fear of failure. And I believe that the fear of failure is at the heart of so many issues. It's mind blowing, really.
Mm-hmm.
You name any remedy in the kit, and I would tell you how it stems from the Rockwater state.
That's beautiful. That's beautiful. It's such a good work also as a practitioner because, you would say fear of failure, this is large, and maybe mimulus, you would connect these cues to the remedies. And I think that is indeed where you are so good. You are really so good at reading between the lines and looking what is really, really going on. I mean, you clearly have that talent of really listening to people as an empath, feeling, reading between the lines. And I'm so happy that you managed to discover that magical power of rock water. Amazing.
Yeah.
So, what would you think, or what would you say is the difference between healthy self-discipline? Because in itself, this is really good. This is how you get things done. This is how you move forward in the world. This is how you make your dreams come true. This is how you are a reliable person. This is all good stuff, I would say. But there is, of course, a difference between that really nice, very valuable self-discipline and then the rigidity that really calls for rock water. Where would you say is where you would draw the line? Where does it become unhealthy?
Well, basically, one's coming from a place of fear and the other from desire. Now, healthy self discipline is when you choose to do something because it's what you want to do, it's what
Mhm.
you desire. You're not coming from a place of fear, you're coming from a place of your own ethics and your desire to self improve and just have this control over your life. It's something that you want, it's something that you enjoy. But being rigid means that you will eventually break if you're coming from a place of fear. And
Mhm.
we may fear failure so much that we go into flight or fight mode because of it. And that isn't healthy.
Mhm. Mhm. That is such a good answer also because I even recognize that in myself when I started to work. I never worked for myself. So when I started to work, and I'm a kind of I have that rock water energy in me. I've grown up like that. I'm also it's very Capricorn also, and I have the or even my ascendant. So I tend to have that in my, in my constitution. But when I started working for myself, whenever all the novelty of all this and the stress and I don't know how to do this and that went away, I actually, when you say it, I could really feel the self-discipline changing from, oh my God, how am I going to do this? Am I going to be able to pay for my stuff? Am I going to be able to be good at what I'm doing? Going to, oh, I really want to do this good because I want to do this good. And that is truly a really, really different type of perfectionism. One serves you and one destroys you, I would even say. So that's a really, really nice insight. And I think it's very, very valuable for people to who maybe recognize rock water to kind of sit with themselves and actually have a look. Is this coming from fear or is this coming from love? That's a really good advice, I think. So, how would you say rock water relates to high ideals, whether it is spiritual, religious, or personal? And what happens when those ideals turn against someone?
Well, this is a really interesting question because I believe that this is at the crux of our human experience. And such ideals, I feel, are a reflection of who a person is and who they wish to be. In general, when ideals turn against someone, many tend to go into denial mode.
Mm-hmm.
They will either ignore the evidence and the facts, they'll justify things, or project their own behavior onto others.
Mm-hmm.
Now, willful ignorance is a thing, and if you combine that with a need to never be shown as wrong, thus having failed yourself, others, or your integrity or your motives, um, things like that being called into question,
Mm-hmm.
well, people feel that they can't afford to do that, so they tend to double down.
Mm-hmm.
And often this is due to society, family, or trauma not allowing one to ever be wrong.
Mm-hmm.
And this is because people are stuck to a belief system. This is what that belief system is. And to change someone's belief system is one of the hardest things one can do. And I should know because I've had to do it many times. And
Mm-hmm.
each time it stings. And when I think back and I think, my God, I was so wrong. It's embarrassing. But life is change. You know, life is experiences, and life is about discovering how little we all know. And personally, I welcome new information, a change in perspective. It promotes growth and even redemption. But the pesky ego thing can be a real barrier to us.
That was amazing. I loved how you said that. Like we are somehow here to experience how little we really know. Gosh. And I think this is also really valuable and really for this time, you just see it. I mean, I also used to be more on social media and, wow, 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 and gosh, and you see people just yelling things to each other and in real life and specifically on social media because there's not really any. Well, it depends on what side you are on. If you're on the wrong side, you will be doxxed and hated all over the internet. But there's not really nothing can be done to you. It's very easy to yell at someone when they're behind the screen and you don't know who they are and you don't have a real person in front of you. And the amount of times that I've seen that I could be right about something, and I'm not really personally into relativism that much, but I could be right about something. And then 5 years later, the same topic, I completely changed my mind and I'm also right about it. Like that was also
Yeah,
such a humbling experience to see that, yeah, of course, a table is a table, but what exactly is the truth? And with all the propaganda and everything going on, everybody's going crazy. It's true that we really need to kind of find that humbleness inside ourselves again, and which brings also that connection to rock water because when you are and in the first instance it doesn't have anything to do with humbleness because rock water people really want to do it good, but there is a connection, I think, in a way that maybe they're missing in a way a little bit, me included, of course, a little bit of humbleness, because if you think you could do something perfect, well, you are completely out of your mind. You know, that's just not going to happen ever to no one.
which comes back to the fear of failure.
Exactly. Yeah, that's full circle. Absolutely. That's such a beautiful and valuable insight. Um, Do you notice any? I know that Bach Flower Remedies, of course, we don't use them for physical symptoms. We want to be clear about it. We're not doctors. We don't give any medical advice and things like that. But obviously, Bach saw a relation between physical symptoms or the physical state of a person and these emotions. And I was curious, do you notice physical tendencies in rock water types that mirror the inner state?
Yes, that is something I certainly have experienced personally.
Mm-hmm.
And that's one of the things about our body. They take on the energies of us, our souls.
Mm-hmm.
And if your soul is carrying a certain vibrational energy, then your body is going to absorb it. And those emotions that it is picking up from us are going to eventually manifest as physically,
Mm-hmm.
which is why healing with vibrations are going to make a difference to your body. You
Mm-hmm.
heal the soul, and the body tends to follow along. And so, some examples is that people are always feeling stressed, exhausted, they suffer from physical maladies.
Mm-hmm.
So, one rarely spoken condition that's rarely mentioned is a condition called paresis or shy bladder syndrome, where a person struggles to use the bathroom in public or under pressure. This may stem from an inability to perform, or they feel self conscious, or they fear what people may be thinking of them while they're standing there trying to relieve themselves. It's incredibly embarrassing and it's a debilitating condition to have. And that also comes from a fear of failing to perform or do the most basics of things as when you need to. And it can also be for perform in the bedroom, for example.
Mm-hmm.
People, especially males, may feel like they can't live up to the expectations and therefore they experience erectile dysfunction because of that.
Mm-hmm.
But generally, the anxiety we feel because we think you are going to fail will eventually turn into a illness. And if you can stop those emotions from happening, then your health tends to not only stay good, but your other issues tend to improve as well.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm. Yeah, and that also just makes so much sense. I always say, I mean, if you have an exam or you have something stressful, you just feel it in your body. If something stressful happens to you, it's not just a feeling, it's literally a physical feeling. So if for years or for months you are feeling bad about something, you're struggling with something, of course it would be insane if it wouldn't have an impact on your body. When I think about rock water types, I also often think about really the rigidity, being stuck. And I've seen that with my clients as well, that they've had problems, that they were having frozen shoulders and this kind of stuff. Like, so it's almost as if the body really truly is a mirror of the mind. And we could almost, if we're good at that, read the body and say, hey, maybe have a look at this, this behavior, or maybe you're having a fear around that. It's absolutely amazing. It's beautiful. It's painful, of course, but it's beautiful. Can you share some examples of yourself or someone else when you saw rock water really make a profound shift?
Yes, I certainly can for myself. For example, one of my main issues was that I was always giving too much of myself. There have been people in my life, past and present, who looked upon me as a problem, or being self centered, or ignorant, or clueless. And as a result, I was always giving way more of myself. that I should have, so I could prove I was none of those things. Now, part of this was ego, in order to prove that I was more than they thought. And part of this was fear of rejection, that if I didn't measure up to the expectations of others, then I would lose my job, I would lose my friends, I would
Mm-hmm.
not be accepted in social situations. And so I would go overboard to try and do good things, be nice, and go way too far
Mm-hmm.
with giving things to people who did not even appreciate them. And not only was this self destructive, but I would end up giving way too much of my power and my possessions to others, which, as you would know, is not a good state to be in.
Mm-hmm.
So once I understood this, and my partner helped me to understand this, so credit to her, taking rock water shifted that very quickly. I no longer felt compelled to justify my actions or keep proving that I was not the bad guy here.
Mm-hmm.
It changed my entire attitude to how I dealt with people.
Wow. Yeah, that sounds so powerful, and I recognize I really recognize a lot of myself there as well, and I'm sure a lot of listeners or viewers will also recognize um, there seems to be a certain I mean all of these, of course, 38 remedies and states are very they are very how do you say that? None is more important than the other. They're all relevant. But I do also feel that there is a lot around that kind of self-love in this society, need to prove yourself. Almost, I mean, it's just so often that when you really look at what is going on, it is almost always, partially at least, about self-love and self-acceptance and the fear of not being seen, the fear of not being worthy, the fear of not being loved, the fear of being abandoned. It's unbelievable how we completely become someone completely different in order to be loved or seen, or it's unbelievable, really. Yeah, I've seen it. I've
Oh,
seen
yeah.
that. Yeah. So, what because I was thinking about this question also, what you describe would be seen as something very Santori, boundaries and self-love and doing things for others and kind of becoming someone else almost, having no self-determination, doing everybody else's will, not looking what you want to do or who you want to be. So it's very I love how you kind of take the cue of Santori, but say, hey, look a little bit deeper, because there's a lot of rock water going on here. That's so important, because people often work with the cues, with the like the just a sentence like boundaries, Santori, but that's really where the real work is done, to really look at yourself, and not necessarily saying analyzing, but it's almost more noticing, really. That is in my opinion what is so helpful, noticing what are we really talking about here. I find it
Yeah.
so lovely. So what is also happening, I think, is when we work with these Bach flower remedies, it's not just we're noticing something and then we're taking a flower essence and then that makes us better. We are also really getting to know ourselves in ways that you would never really normally do. You really have to. And again, I'm not really, don't think there needs to be really over analyzing, because it's more of an understanding, I think, than really we're always too much in our brain, which is very rock water, of course.
Yeah.
Mhm. So, what, in your opinion, does rock water pair well with? What remedies would you recommend?
Well, as I mentioned at the beginning of this interview, every single remedy can be supported with rock water. So this can be an incredibly short answer, or it can be incredibly long. And I'm going to keep it short. In fact, I am working on a short book on that subject
Hmm.
itself. I have no clue when I'll be finished, though, but it will come out at some point. But I'll give you one example. Let's take the remedy Scalanthus. Now, Scalanthus is for being decisive, and it's an amazing remedy. If you have a decision to make, no matter what, hold the thought in your mind of the question, take Scalanthus, and see if it remains in your mind or not. And the answer in your mind is what you should do. How does it relate to rock water? Well, there's a thing called decision paralysis. And when you're in a rock water state and you have to make a decision for somebody, you think, oh my God, what if I make the wrong decision and I get into trouble and I let everybody down? Scalanthus will support rock water and make you and help you make the right decision.
So that's a very interesting example, and it makes so much sense when you explain that. And also there, I can really, really see how that would have helped younger me making decisions. And how many of the listeners will also say, oh yeah, this is a good combo for me. That's great. That's a great example. Thank you so much for that. Um, on an emotional or spiritual level, what do you think rock water is really teaching us?
This is an excellent question. And my view is that it's okay to fail. It's okay to make mistakes. In fact, failing is an important part of growth. It teaches us something. And let's say, for example, you had two people and you had to pick one to accompany you on an important project or mission or what have you. And let's say one has never made a mistake in their life, while the other has made many mistakes.
Hmm.
I would choose the latter, the one who's made many mistakes, because the one who has made many mistakes will also most likely know what to do when something goes wrong. And the one who's never made an error is more likely to never have a clue. It's those who make mistakes and learn from them that make them more valuable as people. And those who never took the risk to make mistakes, well, they'll be useless in a crisis. They wouldn't know what to do. Therefore, not only is it okay to fail, failure is a path to spiritual growth.
Well, that was again so wise of you to say that, and puts things in perspective of how indeed humans can actually, yeah, learn. And I mean, it's true that it's just so silly when you think about it. You expect things to go perfect, and you expect yourself to do everything perfect, but it's just, well, first of all, not realistic, and secondly, how valuable it is that we are allowed to make mistakes. There's also a pleasure in the road towards something. And I mean, if you would just be good at something, what would be the end game there, when you're already perfect? That would just, I mean, it's such a silly, when you think about it, it's so amazingly silly that you want to laugh about it. But yeah, humans, we are, going through all these silly feelings. And it's very
Yeah,
humane, of course. But when you say it like that, it makes so much sense, of course. I think also, by the way, that's why you're also so good at what you're doing. And I feel that has made me good at what I'm doing because I have been going through all these states myself. Because, like you say, the experience of feeling something or making that mistake over here's a textbook and here's what to do when this happens, just we are talking about two completely different things. And when I was younger, I had to work with some psychologists, and I could clearly see when someone was just doing some textbook nonsense, or when someone really could relate to what I was feeling, and could really, come with something of essence here. If someone listening wonders, do I need rock water? What would you say are some everyday signs to look out for?
excellent question. And there will be many signs. So I'll just give you a few of them.
Mm-hmm.
You can ask yourself this question. Am I afraid to try something because I might fail the first time? Am I afraid to try and repeat a success in case I can't do it again, which is imposter syndrome? Am I always trying to prove myself to others or myself? Or Am I denying myself pleasure and joy because I feel I need to stand as an example to others? Do I always feel I need to go the extra mile just so I can remain in good standing and be part of a group, keep my job, and so on?
Yeah,
And
that's such good answers because again, you would pair a lot of these anxieties to things like mimulus, to large, but when you really look deeper, I mean, this is what makes a good remedy blend or a really good remedy blend to just have that, just understand yourself on a deeper level, let's say. I think this will be very helpful for a lot of people. Um, in a society that is, partially obsessed with self-improvement and perfection, how do you think, or how would you say, is rock water more relevant than ever?
well, we live in a world where failure is not an option. You got the tall poppy syndrome, which we have in Australia, that if you stick your neck out, there's a chance that if you get things wrong, somebody's going to come along and try and chop it off, so to speak. Failure doesn't seem to be an option. And that makes it very stressful and very hard. And you can be right 100 times, but it's that one time that everybody remembers. And that's why it's an important remedy. But it's not the only remedy, of course. In
Mhm.
fact, if I had my way, just jokingly speaking, I would pour rock water into the water supply along with beach, because beach is the remedy for being judgmental of others. And everybody is judgmental with something. It might be religion, politics, food, lifestyle, clothes, music, movies, you name it. We all have our views on something. And we all feel like our views are the valid ones, while everyone else's may not be as valid. And so beach would be important and would certainly support rock water. And as I mentioned, Scalanthus is a great remedy to help make the right decisions for life. But in general, the whole thing with rock water is that it's okay to be human. It's okay to fail. Life is changed. Life is about experiencing ourselves. That's how we learn. That's how we grow. And the most important thing to remember that life is a chance to be something you have not been before and to be flexible.
That's beautiful. That's so beautiful. Yeah, you really paint such a beautiful picture of how rock water in itself truly flows. It flows, it's never stagnating, it always finds a way. And it has to be, it cannot be rigid, it has to take turns, it has to, there's rocks, there's plants, everything is in the way, and it just still flows and always finds a way out. Thank you so much for your beautiful, beautiful answers. Is there anything else that you would like the watchers or the listeners to know? Is there any last advice you want to give or anything that you want to share with us?
Well, yes, this is all advice, but I always suggest that let everything you do be an expression of who you truly want to be. Don't let others define you. Don't make them think that you need to be a certain way. Do your own research. Go with what you feel, because your feelings are never wrong. Your truth is not other people's truth. And don't forget, it's okay to fail. It's okay to be wrong and learn what not to do, because that's how you learn what to do. Just remember the three simple rules, which I feel are very important to always remind people of. Be nice to each other, look after each other, which are basically the same thing. Look after the earth and just take responsibility for your actions. That's it.
Well, simple but wise, and the most wisest things are always simple. Thank you so, so much for that. It was again such a pleasure to be in your presence, to hear you speak with such wisdom. I love that about you. You're just direct, you have beautiful answers. It's always just super clear. And I'm very, very grateful to know you. Gary is an amazing person with an amazing repertoire of knowledge, also with just a human wisdom of experience, and very interesting. Knows a lot of things about a lot of topics, writes books. He has an awesome Facebook group also. Please come and join us because it's really such a lovely group if you want to know more about remedies, if you want to ask for advice. Everybody's so lovely there. And of course, Gary's there as well. So, with this, I would say thank you so much for being here. And I'm looking forward to uploading this and to see everybody's reactions on this really, really wonderful conversation with you. Thank you so much, Gary.
You're welcome, Michelle. It was a pleasure to be here, and thanks for giving me the opportunity.
It's my pleasure. Bye bye.
Bye.